advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
To Congress, they'll have a barrel of fun. Lives in the White House, you'll find good sense on the run. Send invitations, donors have plenty to cheer. Everybody grab a barrel, 'cause the pork's all here. Deficit spending, all in the name of make work. Job kill.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Philippines Uncut. I am your host, Buddy Cunanan. Now, on this show, we talk about everything under the sun, and tonight we're going to discuss the ongoing pork barrel controversy in the country. Now, pork barrel, as most of you know, refers to the Priority Development Assistance Fund, or PDAF, which really is a slush fund which lawmakers have given themselves in order to carry out priority projects in their areas or districts. Now, tonight's show is very timely as tomorrow we are scheduled to have the 1 million people march against pork barrel, the first such organized protest action in this controversy, and almost exclusively organized via social media networks, which is really a sign of the times. So tonight, as we wait in bated anticipation of what's going to happen tomorrow, we're going to go to the root of the issue and talk about pork barrel and try to explain it to all of you. And joining us tonight are three very esteemed individuals, and very fortunate to have them on the show this evening. Starting with attorney Felisberto Verano, who is a law partner in the Verano Law Firm.
That's right.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for
Yes, sir.
having
And
me.
of course, a veteran of Philippines Uncut who's been here before, Mr. Danilo Olivares, who's a co-chair of the Movement Against Political Dynasties.
Good evening.
Very connected to the pork barrel issue.
Yes, yeah, very
And
much.
last but not least, we have a very esteemed individual, former Secretary of Finance, Jesus Estanislao. He's now the chairman of the Institute of Corporate Directors.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. Welcome to Philippines Uncut.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So let's begin with some introductions, starting with Attorney Verano.
Well, I am a practicing lawyer. Litigation is my forte, and I'm here more like a citizen of the country, and I'd like to contribute to my views, which I think are also the views of most, if not everybody I've talked to, among my friends, young and old, rich or poor. I think I hope to contribute something of that opinion of mine. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Yeah, thank you very much. Mr. Olivares?
Well, as a retired businessman, I look for things to do, and advocacies definitely are as important to go after. And so I am co-chairman of the Movement Against Dynasties. And as you very well know, dynasties and pork barrel are parang kambal tukuyan eh. You know, they go together. Pork barrel fuels the increase of dynasties.
Yes. We'll talk more about MAD, or your organization, Movement Against Political Dynasties, as we go on with this issue in the next hour. Now, finally, we have former Secretary Jesus Estanislao, sir.
My advocacy right now is about governance.
Yes, sir.
In both the business and public sector. That's why I'm very concerned about this issue. Because while everybody is very polite, talking about good governance, that's the good side of the same coin. The other side of that same coin is precisely corruption. And there is quite a lot of corruption in the PDAF case. That's why I get very involved.
Yes, sir. Now, you were a Secretary of Finance during the first Aquino administration from 1990 to 1992. What have you been doing since then?
I've been advising the government on how we participate in international economic relations. I've been very active in APEC. I've been very active in ASEAN, but I also been very active in local issues, how local government units should govern themselves, how national government agencies should become corruption-free, and of course how corporations in the Philippines should be competitive by doing the governance standards in line with global standards.
Yes, sir. I understand, sir, that you are a member of a group called the Former Senior Government Officials, or FSGO.
Yes, I am. We are former cabinet members and other senior government officials who have worked in previous administrations. From the time of the first Macapagal, some of us actually served in that administration, all the way up to the administration of GMA.
Opo.
We do not allow, as members, currently serving government officials. So this is former senior government officials.
What is the goal of your organization, the FSGO?
We really are committed to eradicating abuses, fighting against corruption, raising the standards of transparency and accountability in government. And that's why we're very involved in issues such as the PDAF. And we have formulated a statement regarding this PDAF without going through the preliminaries. We have asked the Ombudsman to investigate the grave misuse of the PDAF. And we asked the President to constitute a special committee composed of representatives of DBM, DOJ, and the private sector to review the PDAF process and to recommend safeguards to ensure that the PDAF is no longer abused. And we ask the senators and representatives implicated in this scam to clear their names by voluntarily subjecting themselves to an impartial official investigation by the Ombudsman to determine the extent of their actual involvement in the PDAF scam. And our lawmakers should serve as models for compliance with the law. Only then can they have the moral authority to exercise oversight powers over the two other branches of government. It is time for the President and the people to prove that election to public office does not give officials a grant of impunity to plunder public funds. So that's the statement we have issued, and I'm very happy to tell you that we have gathered tens of thousands of signatures behind the call for an investigation by the Ombudsman into the entire PDAF scam.
Yes, sir. Very nice statement, sir. We'll talk about, because the FSGO in that statement was presenting a solution, a possible solution to this problem, which we'll talk about in the second segment. But let's talk about this pork barrel issue. As Attorney Verana said, a lot of people are very angry about this. Private citizens and cost-oriented groups, people in government, this has really enraged people to a degree that we haven't seen in a long, long time. Let's talk about pork barrel. What is pork barrel exactly? I defined it quickly in my opening spiel, but sir, how would you define pork barrel being, in your experience?
Pork barrel is in effect a privilege given to, in this case, legislators, to somehow identify certain projects that they feel are of very high priority in their respective regions.
Okay.
So if I come from Batanes, I should be the one to know what are the priority projects that must be undertaken in Batanes. That's the whole idea of the pork barrel.
Ngayon, bakit po tinatawag na pork barrel? How come where did that term come up, pork barrel?
Pork barrel comes from the U.S. experience. In the old days in the U.S., if you are a congressman, you were given a pork barrel, which is a barrel of pork. At the time, they had no refrigeration. So they salted the pork and put it into a barrel and gave it as a privilege to the congressman or the senator. So that's the origin of the pork barrel.
So in days gone by, I mean, it was a sign of wealth as well. If you had a lot of pork, if you couldn't have a refrigerator, so you salted your pork. So it was also an incentive, I understand.
It is an incentive,
that,
yes.
Yes. They said in the American South, the slave owners would give to slaves.
Absolutely.
In lieu of wages. So pork.
Precisely, yes.
So salted pork. So in the same way, that application is being done now with our congressman. It's being used, some people suggest, as an incentive for Congress to move this way or that. Mr. Alvarez, can you add to any of this?
Well, going back to 1987, the local government code, which was passed in the Cory administration, it doesn't say there that senators and congressmen should be the ones to say what are the needs of their constituents. Because senators, for example, their constituents is the whole country, No? Well, congressmen have their own legislative districts. In the local government code, the local development council in each locality is supposed to be formed that will request the president what are the priority projects in their locality. And in this particular case, in the code, the congressman is supposed to be an ex officio member,
Okay.
you know, to be part of the deliberation on whether this should be a priority or what. No? And in this LDC, there is a major component which has not been activated or not being used. No? This is at least 1/4 of the local of the composition of the local development council in each locality must be from the NGOs, meaning the architects, engineers, bankers, industrialists, agriculturists, educators, no, who are renowned and respectable in that locality, to be part of this deliberation. So that is the check and balance that I see. The government side, the local government side, and the NGO.
Yes.
No? And with that, the congressman. No? But nowhere does it say that even senators should be a part of this. No? Because they are legislators. Their job, we elected them to craft laws.
Ayun nga po, a lot of people are wondering why legislators, congressmen and senators, why they have the PDAF or pork barrel to begin with. Yung trabaho po nila ay to enact laws, to pass laws. That is their job.
Yeah.
They have their staffs for this, their salaries, their consultants, their operational expenses, which can be quite substantial, miscellaneous representation, travel allowance, all that. And really, it really is cerebral work. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Estanislao. Being a congressman or a senator is very cerebral. It's really about coming out with laws. Now, what business do they have providing farm-to-market roads or bridges or you know or other things that local government should be doing? Sir, what's your comment about that?
Well, you know, the CDF, which is the precursor of the PDAF,
The Countrywide Development Fund.
Countrywide Development Fund, was available during the Cory Aquino administration. And the whole idea then was, hey, congressmen are supposed to be representatives of the people. They're supposed to air out what it is that the people want. That's part of democracy. I think that's freedom of speech. And one of the things that they wanted to be able to say is, these are the real needs that we have. You cannot view everything from Metro Manila. I am from Cebu, or I come from Batanes, or from Samar. I should be the one to articulate what are the real needs of my constituents. And that is the idea, the cerebral idea behind the Countrywide Development Fund.
Now, sir, being a part of the first Aquino administration, that whole transition from the Marcos regime where we had the 87 Constitution, which basically laid the framework for the existing government setup we have today. How was pork barrel back then, in the early days?
Pork barrel was a small amount of money because at that time we had very little money. And as a matter of fact, one of the reasons why I feel so badly about this PDAF scam is that these people are looking at billions of pesos, which we found very difficult to raise. You know, as Secretary of Finance, you have to raise money.
Opo.
And at that time, to raise 3 billion pesos was a real struggle.
Revenues were down.
The
customs
economy was down,
collections,
and
yes.
so on. And now here we're talking about tens of billions of pesos just going and being dissipated and without doing any benefit for anyone,
Straight
except the
someone's pocket.
pockets
Yes.
of Janet Napoles and
Many
her
others.
cohorts.
Yes, sir.
So this is why people are very angry. And it is difficult to rationalize, well, okay, look, fishermen are supposed to benefit for this. The farmers are supposed to benefit from this. And the end result is that these poor people are not benefiting at all.
Sir, how did this whole thing morph from the old days where you said that the CDF was just one fund really, to now Congressman having 70 million a year and the Senator having 200 million a year? How did this happen?
Well, I do not know because I left government after the Cory Aquino administration. But what I am sure is that we did not have budgets of 200 million pesos per senator and 70 million per congressman. My understanding right now is that in the budget of the Philippine government today, this is just a one-line item budget.
Define it po.
That's it.
I mean, let's explain to the viewers. What do you mean by a one-line item?
One
in the
line
budget?
item
Yes, what does
is
that mean?
contrasted to, this is the budget of the Department of Health. So everything is specified there. How much medicine,
Salaries,
the hospitals that have to be, all of those are specified. So there is a budget allocation for very specific purposes.
Itemized.
So talaga po.
This one, the
Opo.
PDAF, is one line item. Walang specifications.
Just the amount.
Just the amount.
Just the amount. And the specifications are left, according to the understanding of the senators and congressmen, 200 million pesos per senator and 70 million pesos per congressman. That's where the fund begins. Fund in the sense of where the corruption can begin.
Opo. So, as opposed to line budgeting, where from the onset, you already know exactly
You
where the
already
monies
know
are going to go.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
And there's somebody who is going to check whether, in fact, the expenses went to the purposes which were included in the budget.
Wow.
And that is what the COA comes in.
Yes,
But
yes.
here, when you begin saying, I dredged this lake, or I bought some fertilizer, who is going to be able to check where the fertilizer went?
Well, sir, as a citizen, I would assume that there's some agencies, I mean, that's the assurance we'd like to think, we'd like to give ourselves, that someone is, in fact, checking up on this. Is there someone checking up on these things?
Theoretically, yes.
Theoretically.
Theoretically, and
Okay.
that is
Okay.
the Department of Budget releases
Yes,
the
sir.
money based on a request of the senator and congressman, and then it releases it to a line agency, for example, Department of Agriculture. Department of Agriculture comes around and says, who is going to implement this project specified by a congressman? And lo and behold, a foundation presents itself. I'm a wonderful implementer of this project, and they get all of the signatures of the beneficiaries, they get all of the money, and the money is gone.
Going back to what Mr. Alvaro was saying about the NGOs, and this whole issue with Ms. Napoles, and ghost NGOs, for instance, how did that come into play? That whole...
It's a whole system.
Okay.
I understand that the paper moves very quickly with a call coming from Napoles or her cohorts, and it gets into the Department of Agriculture, whichever is the national government agency. By the way, there are some GOCCs that are involved here, and they are the traditional distributors of these PDAF funds.
Yes, yes.
And of course, at that end, the NGOs of Napoles were ready, willing, and able to absorb all of the money that comes that way.
Let's talk about
But
that.
everything is facilitated.
Sir, when you say absorb, so she created these NGOs as,
Yes.
as a destination
Yes.
for the funds, for the pork barrel funds of the lawmakers.
Right.
Supposedly guaranteeing
That
some
the
of the-
fertilizer gets
Yes.
distributed or
Yes.
whatever it is that has to be spent for.
Yes.
They're the implementer, in other words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are the so-called soft items.
Okay, let's define that. You said soft items. What are the hard items?
Hard items would be roads and bridges. Those are hard items. Those are easy to check. The PWH can check whether in fact the road is actually built or not.
Yes, yes.
But soft items, they disappear.
Mr. Alvarez.
Actually, there are, naka-specify naman yung mga paggagamitan ng pork barrel eh. Like yung infrastructure projects, and then livelihood projects. Tapos yung initiatives for improving health, social and economic conditions of a legislator's constituents. Calamity assistance, and the purchase of equipment for these projects. And this is now very glaring, itong nakarahang maring na bagyo na ito. Now, where did all these pork barrel went? Na ang halos buong Luzon underwater, and where is the pork barrel that is supposed to be used for this calamity assistance? Ni wala kang makitang mga motorized bangkas or boats to ferry to rescue people and their ready food na nakapack na pag at a moment's notice di-distribute sa mga tao sa mga relief centers, so where is the pork barrel in this case? Kasi calamity assistance is a very, very important source, of funding, yung source of funding. And yet we don't see that. So
Yes, yes.
all the more na ang tao nagagalit because itong bagyong to, mainit na nga yung issue ng pork barrel, ito pa yung bagyo na nasalanta ang buong Luzon and people are asking for help. People are nakakaawa. Talagang the poor, ang problema nito, it's the poor that are really affected by this typhoon. No?
Yes, yes.
And yet, we don't see any relief from government.
Yes, and really, as we've said earlier, so many people are angry, are really angry about this. From the legal profession, Attorney Verano, what is the feedback you're getting about this whole controversy? I understand you and then Secretary Stanislao worked together.
Yes, he was my boss. I was assistant secretary then. I was the one running back and forth to Congress if there was something happening that the secretary needed to be done. So ako yung errand boy niya. Okay. Alam mo, marami nagtatanong sa akin, siguro boss ko makasagot nito, bakit may kailangan na NGO? Ano ang role ng NGO? Yung pang hindi na makuha, kung bakit meron naman pera na ililipat naman from the one government
agency to another.
Bakit daw merong NGO yung sa gitna nun?
Yeah, very simple. Livelihood project.
Okay.
Okay. So you are a government agency that is supposed to undertake a livelihood project. You're not organized for it. You cannot give out
you
the
don't-
livelihood project. So you have
You don't
to
have the
use
expertise
somebody
for it.
else.
You don't have the expertise for
That's
it.
where the NGOs come in. I'm a great organizer of livelihood projects. I have organized all of these things. I have all of this track record. In concept, it works very well.
On
But the
paper.
moment you corrupt the system, you have Annapolis coming in, the whole system breaks down.
Yes, I can understand that because like yung LGU nga pala, if you have a livelihood project, they may not be equipped with expertise to do it. So you really need an outside party
Yes.
to get involved. And yung problema ho, sabi niyo, on paper, it does look good on paper, pero pag pinasukan ng kalokohan, that's where the problem starts.
Yeah, a contractor, for example, for dredging of the Iloilo River. I mean, DPWH cannot do all of that. I mean, these are small projects scattered all over the place. So there's a contractor.
Yes.
And behold, the Annapolis contractor appears
Yes, yes.
and wins the bid.
Yes. I heard that from some people I know inside that like people like Napoles, pagkapupa lang daw, lumalapit na saying, Senator, Mr. Congressman, meron akong NGO. They really approach. They're proactive about this. They approach congressmen, approach senators, and tell them really that we can guarantee this much return for you. This is an NGO that you can work with.
But
That is really a market for corruption. There is a demand and supply.
Opo.
Napoles provides her services to get the money. And if I'm a congressman or senator, I can identify what projects should go. And she is just ready to provide all of the services to make sure that, in fact, the money gets
It's really a
released.
money-making machine.
Yes.
But ang
Sir
tanong nga
Vice.
dito, attorney, who is the corruptor? Is it Napoles or yung puno, yung legislator? No. Kasi nga, as far as I'm concerned, Napoles cannot earn even a single centavo from the pork barrel were it not for the complicity, collusion of all the way up from the LGU, implementing agency, DBM, COA, and the legislator. No?
Yes, yes.
So, I don't know, who is the corruptor here? Is it the legislator asking, pwede natin mga pakulo rito? Or, Napoles then going to the senator and saying, boss, ito yung mga projects na pwede nating pasukan.
What's strange, gentlemen, is that I've been noticing in media, I don't know if someone is spinning this or turning it around, because, I mean, there's a huge uproar. Fine Napoles, get her, prosecute. But how come there's no uproar about, as you mentioned, the legislators who were in cahoots with her?
Yeah.
Parang if you look at media now, all the headlines, it's all about Napoles, but she's just small fry. I mean, she's a tool.
Well, she's not so small, huh?
I mean,
With 10 million.
big time,
pesos.
but she's a tool. I mean, she probably earned, but I'm sure her congressman or senator, those who are, so if they are guilty, I'm sure they made more money than she did. These are the big fish.
Ang tingin ko yan, diversionary tactic yan. Make her look so evil that people will be angry at her. No?
Yes, yes.
So to divert the attention from the
From
big
the
fish
legislators,
who are supposed to be equally answerable and liable.
Ayan po gusto kong pag-usapan natin sa ating second segment. So, guys, don't go away. We have to pause for a break, but don't go away because more of Pork Barrel and Corruption when Philippines Uncut returns. Welcome back to Philippines Uncut. I'm your host, Buddy Cunanan. Tonight's topic is pork barrel and corruption. Joining us still are former Secretary Jesus Estanislao, Attorney Verano from the Verano Law Office, and of course, Mr. Danilo Olivares, who's the co-chairman of the Movement Against Political Dynasties. So, gentlemen, welcome back to our second segment here in Philippines Uncut about pork barrel. Let's start by talking about anger, because we stopped a while ago before we paused for break, and we talked about people are really fed up with this. I mean, all of us are sick to the core about what's going on. And my question, let's start with Attorney Verano, is itong pork barrel controversy, matagal na natin pinag-uusapan. As in, ako, college pa lang ako, high school na, naririnig ko na yung pork barrel. Why is it only now, after almost 3 decades, that we're finally just seeing this, and then rage has been so bottled up?
Alam mo, buddy, sa totoo lang, ako rin, noong ko pa nadidinig yan, pork barrel na yan. At saka nung araw, kumikita lang sila ng konti eh. I think, as estimate ng mga 10%. Yung 10% lang nung araw eh. At saka nagdi-deliver sila. Ibig sabihin, alimbawa, pag i-deliver ng fertilizer dun sa mga farmers, no? Per gallon or per drum, talaga nagdi-deliver. Kaya hindi masyadong nabubulgar eh. Because may delivery, pero kumikita sila sa presyo. Halimbawa, 100 pesos per gallon, may presyo ng 110, 120, doon sila kumikita sa spread.
Opo.
Ang problema, naging gahaman eh. Naging masyadong swapang na. Wala nang deliveries eh. Papel na lang tumatakbo. In other words, halimbawa, 100 drums of fertilizer. Padadala halimbawa sa Santa Maria, Bulacan o sa Nueva Ecija. Wala nang 100 drums. Papel na lang umiikot. Babayaran na sila. Okay. Ngayon, bakit ngayon lang nagalit? No? Actually, marami ng ugong-ugong ang Pilipino. Kaya lang, unang-una, yung karakter ng Pilipino, masyado tayong relax. Masyado tayong, okay na yan, pwede na yan. Pero sa dami ngayon ng nangyayari, hindi na matiis ng mga tao. Sobra na eh. Yung bang sobra na, tama na.
Yes.
Bumabalik na naman yung tawag na sobra na, tama na.
Sabi nga ni Mr. Olivares, itong nakarang maring, di ba? I mean, very glaring na asan na yung emergency relief services, asan na yung mga rubber boats where, lahat ng inaasahan natin na tutulong sa tao ay parang invisible during this calamity. Yes. But wouldn't you say, Mr. Estanislao, that another reason why parang hindi na bulgar to, because maybe the powers that be over several administrations found it convenient not to rock the boat. Okay, let's face it, pork barrel is a means by the executive, sitting president, to control Congress. This is why the Philippine president is so much more powerful than the US president. Unlike sa Amerika po, yung pork barrel, hindi ganun kahawak ni Barack Obama. If you're a congressman or a senator, even if you hate Barack Obama's guts, you will still get your share of pork barrel. Pero dito sa Pilipinas, kontrolado po ng Department of Budget and Budget Management yung pag-release po nito. So kung kalaban niyo yung presidente, in this case, kung kalaban niyo si President Aquino, wala kayong makukuha ang pork barrel. And case in point, yung aking co-host dito sa GNN, si Mitos Magsaysay, alam naman po natin na very staunch critic ni President Aquino nung siya'y congressman, ay talagang walang nakuha. So, just pointing out, this is something that's has been done by all administrations from the time of the first President Aquino to the second President Aquino. Could it be that could be also parang a reason that, they've been happy with the situation? Why rock the boat?
It is part of the system. There's a reason for the pork barrel. And quite frankly, the executive and the legislators have been comfortable with it. Okay? But now, people are saying this has been a source of great corruption. And in an administration that is committed to anti-corruption and good governance, transparency, dito walang transparency. Money just disappears, nawawala.
Opo. Pero interesting you should say, administration that is, that's supposed to be championing Dang Matuwid. Ika nga si President Aquino when he was running, then candidate Noynoy Aquino, his mantra was really Dang Matuwid, di ba? But how can you react? What is your reaction, sir, to President Aquino's reaction to this whole pork barrel controversy? Example, this is a newspaper headline a few days ago, and it says, Pinoy cool to pork march. So that speaks volumes. It's like he's not entirely, for a president who's supposed to champion good governance, how come he's not, coming out very strongly against this? He should be the number one, guy coming out and saying, enough of this pork barrel.
I can not guess what is his reservation. But
Yes.
I've been following the statements coming out of Malacanang, and it looks like there is a gradual acceptance of the growing public pressure for us to get something done. I mean, you look at the Philippines today. Until 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, everybody was saying the Philippines is great, it's a model, it's the fastest growing economy. Quite frankly, the president has achieved so much in the past 3 years. Good governance. He has acquired the trust. Trust ratings of the
For sure.
president are
For
very
sure,
high
yes, yes.
and consistently very high. Now, is he willing to throw all of that down the drain? Cannot be. This is an issue we must face. Not only he, but as a people. Huh?
Yeah.
As a people.
Yes. Mr. Olivares?
Again, like Dr. Stanislao, I cannot guess what the president is thinking. No? But for me, there is the handwriting on the wall. If you remember, noong EDSA revolution, Cardinal Sin called for people to go to EDSA, and people just went there by the millions. Di ba? The second time around was when the impeachment of in President Estrada, na yung envelope hindi pinabuksan. That night, people went to the streets. Talagang text lang, tawag lang, and people were out in the streets by the millions. And this time, itong August 26 rally na ito, it's social media.
Yes.
No organizer, no
Cannot be controlled.
No group,
Yes.
no nothing. Just people want to be there. Nakapunit na met, maupo lang kayo dyan. Just to tell the president that, hey, we are your boss, as you said, and we are not happy anymore, and something must be done. Suspend muna yung pork barrel, and then and prosecute whoever needs to be prosecuted, and send them to jail, regardless of friends or enemies or allies or whatever. No? So this is the third time na nakita ko yung spontaneous people going to the streets. No? And the president should really heed itong sigaw ng tao na sinabi mo kami ang boss mo. Sinasabi namin sa'yo, ito hindi namin gusto. No? Tanggalin mo na yan for your own sake, for our country's sake, for our own sake. No?
Mr. Stanislao, objectively speaking, do you think President Aquino can do it?
I think he can.
Go up against Congress? I mean, how can it's very difficult if you think about it. Like a president, if he will push through with this, he will go head to head with the two House and Congress, and that's a very dangerous thing for any president to do. I mean, you could get impeached for.
He need not be confrontational.
Yes.
He can throw in a lifeline saying, we'll have to do what the people want us to do.
Yeah.
And what is it that the people want us to do? Everybody is transparent. Everybody is accountable. He can give them an opportunity for congressional specification of projects, but that will have to be as part of the line item budget, which everybody can look at and everybody can check, everybody can monitor, everybody can, in fact, determine whether the beneficiary has benefited. Not what Janet
one line.
Napoles, yes.
Just
one line.
that's it.
I agree with Dr. Stanislao because many people are saying, para hindi maipit si Presidente, call for a referendum ng tao. Let the people decide. Yung mga boss natin, tayong Presidente, Congressman, Senator, yung mga boss natin ng taong bayan, let them decide. Call for a referendum.
Are you for the? I mean, are you gentlemen for the abolition of the pork barrel system?
I am, because if a system is broken, it has to be fixed.
Define abolition. As in,
Abolition means
remove it from the hands of the
right
government
now,
completely.
and this is the decision of Malacanang, no releases on PDAF until investigations are completed. And Ombudsman is doing it. COA has come out with a report. With that COA report, I don't think the Senate can close its eyes.
Although the core report only covered 2007, 2009.
It will go on, because this was started 3 years ago. COA is continuing to do its task, including up to 2010, 2011, 2012, including the Quino administration.
Okay, it's now 2013. Why is it that COA only came out with 2007 to 2009? How come it's not more updated?
Because the records of this thing, because they are not so transparent, everything has been hidden, has been very difficult to track down. Don't forget that this investigation into the PDAF started not in 2010, but with Chairman Villar of COA getting into the process in 2009.
2009, yeah.
And now, with Grace having the results, she comes out with the COA report.
Yes. Pero, okay, there lies the problem again, sir. Like, it's taking so long, and then, I hate to sound like a pessimist here, but a lot of us are thinking also that, okay, alam mo naman Pilipino, a controversy comes and everyone looks at this issue, and then afterwards, when another controversy comes up, then makakalimutan na naman to. And then, as you mentioned, this COA thing was started in 2009, it's already 2013. By the time we get to the malfeasances, if ever, between 2010 and 2013, tapos na yung administration. It will be 2016 already.
I don't think the Senate will take 3 years to investigate the PDAF.
Yes.
It is in their interest and in the people's interest. The pressure on the Senate is going to be very strong, that investigation will not drag 3 years. I have not seen a Senate investigation drag for the entire duration of a Senate term.
Yes, yes.
So this is going to go rather fast.
So you're very optimistic about
I am
this.
optimistic.
Good, good.
Although people are saying, you mean the Senate investigating itself?
Yes.
A lot of people are saying dapat yung ombudsman, the NBI, and a group of NGOs who are talagang reputable, without blemish, na talagang above board, should really do the investigation. Because in fact, going further, many people are saying, and I'm sobrang galit ng tao talaga, na maybe the Congress should suspend operation. No? Because there is a cloud of suspicion on all of them. Sinasabi nga ng mga tao, this is just the tip of the iceberg. So in other words, there may be more congressmen, more senators who are involved. No? So how can they now go in sa session and come up with bills or whatever, when there is that cloud of suspicion on them? Talagang parang nasira yung tiwala ng tao sa kanila. No?
How do you...
People are going that far, na
this is really institutional damage already. I mean,
Yes,
how do you correct... Mr. Sensal, from the point of view of of your group, the FSGO, I mean, this is already not just a case of just 10 congressmen, 10 senators and some congressmen. This is institutional damage already. How do you fix it?
That's why we have called for an ombudsman investigation. Many of us privately are saying the PDAF should be suspended for now. And many of us are calling for the actual abolition of the PDAF.
As in removing this from Congress and placing it in the executive.
Right.
Now, I have a question about that. Some people are saying that could also be a bit dangerous, now putting all this in the hands of the executive.
Now, putting the power to determine what should be undertaken, that's already in the power of the executive. Don't forget that it is the executive that puts together all of the proposals for spending. That's in the power of the executive. Now, what the Congress is supposed to do is to check, to oversee.
That's the real check and balance there.
That's the real checks and balance.
That's
now,
what we need.
that one has broken in the current PDAF system.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
That's why it needs to be fixed.
Yes.
And in the meanwhile, while we're fixing it, we have to stop it.
So to fix it, your group is saying that let's proceed with the ombudsman investigation.
Yes.
But as Mr. Alvarez said, some people in the private sector are saying it should be like an independent, like from the private sector, maybe some...
No, but the ombudsman has the powers. It's a constitutional body. And under the current ombudsman, is not under the thumb of the of President Aquino.
But it's appointed by the president. I mean, the ombudsman is appointed by the president.
Everybody is appointed by the president. The central bank governor is appointed by the president. But it is a constitutional body. It has
Yes,
independence.
yes.
The Supreme Court, their justices appointed by the president.
I guess so. Like many citizens, I'm probably also, when it comes to things like that, leaning towards a bit pessimistic, after
This is
everything that's
where
happened. So.
Civil society comes in.
Yeah.
People like you in media would come in. Hey, we are the citizens. We have a voice. We have a stake. We're going to speak out.
Yeah.
That is what the Monday rally is about.
Yes,
Diba?
yes.
Are you attending, Attorney Brano,
Yes,
the Monday
yes,
rally?
we will all be there. As a matter of fact, I've texted to all of my friends, and everybody's reacting. And I predict it's going to be a very big rally. Okay, I hope I'm not wrong, but I think it's going to be a big one. Now, ganito dapat ang nangyayari. Yung rally sa Monday, papakita lang ng mga tao na sila ay galit, di ba? At sila ang boss ng presidente. Siya naman nagsabi nun kayo ang boss ko.
Kayo ang boss ko.
Ang hindi ko nakikita, opinion ko ito at saka ito ay pareho opinion din ng mga ibang kaibigan ko. Para bang yung presidente, hindi masyadong galit.
Yun nga eh.
Alam mo, Kailangan magpakita siya ng
True.
siya ang Pangulo eh.
True, true.
Naggalit siya.
True.
No? Kung galit man siya, hindi niya masyadong pinapakita eh. Mali yun eh.
Sabi nga ng inquiry, di ba? Pinoy
Oo,
cool to
kailangan
pork march.
pakita
So, hindi
niyang
siya galit.
At
Oo,
sasabihin niya,
hindi
alam
siya
mo,
galit.
dito na tayo magkahiwa-hiwalay. Pero kailangan ipakita niya with emotions ha, hindi lang yung tinatawag na lip service o yung motherhood statement na tinatawag na sinasabi lang, sige, gawin natin. Sige, pabayaan natin ang ombudsman. Hindi eh. Dapat sabihin niya, ako'y galit, ako'y isang mamayan ng Pilipinas at dapat tayo kumilos. Dapat kung sino ang mahatulan, hatulan na agad at sa madaling panahon. May mga statements yan dapat napapakita niyang galit siya. Yun ang hinihintay ng tao.
Iba kung manggagaling ka sa presidente. I mean, Mr. Sislao, ombudsman, sure, constitutional body, pero iba talaga pag manggagaling sa commander-in-chief.
Ikaw ang Pangulo eh.
Yes.
Ikaw ang dapat unang galit at pinakagalit sa lahat.
Yes.
Pareho ng galit na pinakita niya doon sa corona impeachment.
Yung corona impeachment, kung paano niya
yung trial ni
hinabol na
GMA,
hinabol si Corona.
na talagang galit na galit siya. Oh.
Pero hindi yung mga statements na tingnan natin o hintayin natin ang investigation. Dapat maglabas siya ng statement na dapat tapusin ka ang investigation na yan ngayon din o in a few hours, in a few minutes.
Bigyan niya ng
At tingnan natin
timetable,
at
no?
kung kailangan filean natin.
And you know, si President Aquino always talks about legacy. A legacy he wants to leave behind, na gusto iwan for future generations. Ito talaga pwede maging legacy niya kung maayos niya to.
To
Alam
me,
mo-
this is a real test.
Yes, sir.
It's a real test. It's a defining moment
Yeah.
because he has done very well up to now, and people have trusted him. But I think for people to continue to trust him, he must be seen as doing something decisive.
Do you think that this can only, the reforms that you want to see in place, that your group wants to see in place, do you think it's only possible with his support, with his full
yes,
support? Only.
absolutely.
It can only apply
Absolutely.
with his full support.
Yes.
Mr. Rivares, about them from the point of civil society?
Well, yun nga eh, yung...
What if the president wavers here? What do you think is the
A lot of people are saying ito yung tipping point.
Okay.
Kasi up to now, hanggang ngayon, mataas pa rin ang rating ng presidente at saka yung trust rating niya mataas pa rin. Up to now. But meron niyang hangganan. Kaya nga tipping point eh. No? Pag hindi niya inaksyonan itong pork barrel na ito, marami akong nakikita mga tao na talagang die hard for Noynoy, no? For President Noynoy, na sinasabing pag walang nangyari dito, mawawala na talaga yung aking trust sa kanya. Yung kanyang daang matuwid na kung walang corrupt, walang mahirap na slogan. Ano, dahil talagang, again, going back to sa anti-dynasty, no? Itong mapapansin mo, karamihan ng mga congressmen and senators belong to dynasties. No? And dynasties really prefer na ang mga tauhan, mga constituents sila, maging pobre habang buhay. Kasi pag pobre ang mga constituents sila, then kayang-kaya lang hawakan. No? Abutan lang nila ng 500 piso, 200 piso, 1,000 tuwing eleksyon. No? It's a politics of patronage.
Yes,
no?
yes.
It's a vicious cycle of the poor kowtowing to the congressmen and senators, and the senators and congressmen naman parang dinadanggal yung candy sa mga ito, no? Na habang mahirap yan, mga tao na yan, ito dinadanggal nila to get their support, no? So talagang it's a vicious cycle, no?
Yes.
And for me, itong pork barrel controversy to, it will spell the death of democracy in the Philippines. No?
Yes,
Talagang
yes.
Or we can show that democracy works.
Yes.
Could be our finest
yes,
hour.
yes.
If
Could
the
be our finest
president
hour.
will do something
Yes.
If the
about
president
it.
will do something
Yes.
about it. Mr. Estanislao, let's talk about timeline. You said, okay, investigation, ombudsman, and then, okay, let's say,
The Senate will come in.
okay, the Senate will come in. Okay, let's say it's
3 months.
3 months. But okay,
In the meanwhile, no releases on the PDAF.
okay. But following the investigation, and it's shown that there are senators and congressmen who have committed malfeasances as far as their pork barrel is concerned. And then what?
Question is, do you really want the PDAF in its present form? I think the answer is no.
No.
Yeah.
The question, therefore, is what changes, if any, must be introduced? And I think people have a lot of ideas on what those changes are.
Who has the power to change the current setup with the PDAF?
Executive and the legislative. These are the two branches that can do that.
Yeah, but-
and they will have to come to agree.
Will the legislature? I mean, it's like someone. It's like for the congressmen, it's like shooting themselves in the foot. Why will they do it?
But with popular pressure, such as will happen hopefully on Monday, They cannot possibly close their eyes.
Pero sir, some congressmen will say, I don't care about that rally. I'll still win in my bailiwick. I'm a warlord, they'll say, in Ilocos or whatever, place like that.
Totoo yan.
Di ba? Or
Kung yung pork barrel nandiyan pa.
Oh.
Kasi talagang gumagastos sila sa eleksyon eh. You know, hanggang sa Samar, 2,000 ang bilihan ng balota eh. No? So pag tanggal mo yung pork barrel yan, pustahan tayo, ilan dyan sa mga congressmen ang tatakbo pa.
Hindi, pero yung
parang na-dry up yung
Opo.
kanilang source of funds.
Opo, pero yung tanong ko, para tanggalin yon, sila dapat yung magtatanggal sa kanilang sarili ng pork
Hindi.
barrel na yun, di ba?
The president has
But-
the prerogative.
pero
He has a sole mandate to fund priority projects in the local community.
So President Aquino can do it if he wants to. He can remove it.
Yes.
At saka, alam mo, buddy, merong such a thing as line veto. Pwedeng i-veto ng presidente
Yeah.
yung budget na yan.
Oh, wow.
He's
Sa
so
budget.
powerful.
That's powerful.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
He's that powerful.
He can do
Fortunately, our president has that power.
Yes, yes. Let's hope he has
Lalo
the
na
will.
kung ito, one line yung
One line.
PDAF. Alam mo, 20 billion, kung ilang billion yan. He can just veto it. One line veto.
Kaya nga itong rally sa Monday, papakita ng taong, Mr. President, we are behind you. Ha? Lakasan mo loob mo, we are behind you.
This rally is
Do
really
it.
for
Do it.
to motivate President Aquino,
Yes, do
inspire
it.
him, give him the
Oh.
courage,
At
hopefully
saka,
give him the courage.
Buddy, you'll remember there were a lot of rallies in the past.
Yeah.
Marcos time.
Yes.
That were ignored by
Yes.
the president.
Yes.
Ignored by Marcos, ignored by President Estrada.
Yes.
But that's where they made their mistakes.
Yes.
When they ignored these rallies.
Yes.
And I hope on Monday's rally, wag naman i-ignore ni Pinoy.
Yes.
Kasi baka kagatin yan siya sa tenga niya.
Oh, gentlemen, unfortunately, we have 1 minute to close. Quickly, last words. Let's start with Attorney Verano.
Okay, ang hinahanap ngayon ng mga tao ay leadership, mangunguna ang presidente. At nagsasabi ng tao, manguna ka sa aming galit at ayusin natin ang ating bayan. Napakita naman niya na kaya niya. Naayos niya ang customs o inaayos na ngayon. Naayos niya ang tax collection. Maganda naman ginagawa ni Jimenez. Lalo nga nagagalit ng mga tao dahil nagbabayad kami ng taxes tapos nanakawin nila.
Quickly, Mr. Alvarez.
Ako naman, sisirin ako on the rally. Nananawagan ako sa ating mga kababayan. Not 1 million. Kung pwede, 2 million people should go there sa Luneta. No? It's a picnic naman eh. Hindi naman to, walang mga demagog na mag-incite ng civil disobedience. Nothing. No talks, no speeches.
No colors.
No placards,
Yes, no
nothing.
colors.
No? Just be there. Show the numbers that, Mr. President, we are behind you. Do it.
Yes, sir.
Ganun kasimple.
I really agree. This is not just a matter for the president. It is a matter for us, the Filipino people. And we got to really show where we stand.
Yes, sir. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming to the show. And I hope, as Mr. Sanansao said, as we follow this issue, I hope that you'll come again to the show and we can help educate the Filipinos about what this issue is all about and what we can do working together to fix it. Thank you very
If
much.
I may suggest,
Yes.
after the Monday rally, let us meet again and let us assess. Tingnan natin kung anong
Sige po,
iba na
Thursday.
siguro ang istorya. di ba?
Thursday, same time, same channel. Dito sa CNN.
Di ba?
So guys,
Oh.
I hope you enjoyed the show today about pork barrel. Join us again next week here in the show where we talk about what matters to you because you guys, the Filipino people, matter the most. See you next week.
Thank you.